For me, this is the end game. This is the final boss of CD players. The goal here today is to make sure the retail price doesn't overshadow the value. Let's get to it. Hello friends, I'm Mike and welcome to Audio Architects. If you're a fan of the electronics department at your local Kmart or Montgomery Ward, then you're definitely in the right place because that's all we talk about. So before we start the yarn board, let's violently and relentlessly click on that like button and subscribe to the channel because it's just what we do here. Okay, so how am I going to rationalize spending almost $4,000 on a CD player? Essentially, that's my job, right? To navigate through this thing to the point where I tell you value is there or hard pass. I'll be happy to report for those of you who never make it past the first 30 seconds of my videos that the inherent value is there. And for me, I actually found it where you might not have expected. Let's go back to the beginning, that moment where I opened my fresh new Falling in Reverse CD, gently placing it in the disc tray and hitting that play button for the first time. Usually this is just part of the process of listening to a CD. However, I found with this player, it's actually part of the ceremony. That same fuzzy feeling the vinyl heads get when they bathe their records in baby oil, that's how I felt when I fired up the TEAC. I felt the whole vibe and color scheme here is very reminiscent of the player my brother had in his room growing up, which is where I learned all about music, CDs, mixtapes, and of course how to navigate an entire stereo system at only 7, maybe 8 years old. So that for me is priceless. I don't think you can put a price on something that makes you feel alive or holds a special memory. The price would only reflect the emotions and memories you've woven into it. That's an entirely personal currency shaped by the weight of your own bias and depth of your connection. This was a tough review from the start because of that instant connection I had to the past. Maybe that's why we gravitate towards these legacy-style players and timeless music. It's our gateway to a time that felt clearer, a little more carefree, and far less loaded by all the things we feel today.
Message!
If you aren't into CD players like I am, you may not know that this is actually a reimagining of the legacy VRDS line of transports and players that TEAC offered in the early 90s, which are, interestingly enough, still very sought after today. They also had a unique look and vibe for their time and offered high-end audio features and sound for a not-so-high-end price. And by the way things are shaping up here with this brand new unit, history seems to want to repeat itself. I really like the clean industrial design. It looks like a serious piece of hi-fi gear. The knobs are buttery smooth. It's all about that knob life, guys. And this feels like absolute luxury. There's nothing worse than a knob that cheaply clicks or even worse, scrapes on the surface. The buttons and knobs here are all wonderfully constructed. This unit also comes in silver, which is cool, but I almost want them to release a special gold edition to pay homage to the VRDS 20, but I will always be happy with a black finish. I like the rack handles. I mean, I would never put a CD player this cool in a rack, but it adds to the classic look I feel TEAC was going for. Even the power button has that old school switch vibe. Now, aesthetically, TEAC offers other components with the same exact design to recreate that uniform stereo look so many people are still even after today. With TEAC's lineup, you could still have that badass stereo from the 70s and 80s you always wanted but never had. What can't this thing do is a better question to ask ourselves. It'd be virtually impossible for me to cover all the nerdy tech TEAC shoved into the chassis, so I'm gonna break down the stuff I feel is most important when selecting a player, and then TEAC should be hopping on a video stream here soon with me to explain anything and everything I didn't cover. The overall operation was easy. It's a CD player, and as such, it was extremely easy to just plug and play. There's a USB-C input around the back where you can actually plug in your PC and use it as a USB DAC. It is a player, so TEAC has included their own design of a Delta Sigma DAC. They've built the DAC stage in their vision, which I think is pretty bold and pretty cool, since they could have probably just used some off-the-shelf DAC like most others do, but I appreciate their desire to show the world there's innovation going on at TEAC. It does have a digital input and output, so if you have a streamer or some other digital source, you can plug it straight into the TEAC and use it as a DAC. Now, if you're not feeling their DAC, you can use the digital output and use the DAC of your choice. If you want to upconvert your music, you may do so, since this unit has the ability of upconversion 2x, 4x, and 8x, which is another feature not that common without getting into the top dollar stuff. You can use this player as a preamp since TEAC included that volume knob we talked about, and attached to the knob is an analog variable gain amp type attenuator with a fully balanced structure. So you kind of get a CD player and a preamp all in one. There's also a headphone amp in case you just want to listen to tunes on your cans. Now, there is a feature I'm not too comfortable diving in and talking about. I mean, I understand its function and its purpose. It's just hard for me to regurgitate engineer speak on command. So you're able to add an external clock, which synchronizes the stars and aligns the planets as far as I know. It's said to also improve the sound quality. This is something I'd like to try for myself. Perhaps TEAC will send one over and make a believer out of me. We shall see. Now, what it does really good is play CDs, perhaps because TEAC dedicated a lot of effort into their VRDS mechanism. VRDS stands for Vibration-Free Rigid Disc Clamping System. It's meant to reduce vibration by clamping the CD to an aluminum turntable with the same diameter. Always remember, vibration is the direct enemy to CDs and their function. This is kind of tough, guys, because there is so much going on here. Oh, and it can also decode MQA if you're into that sort of thing. I haven't really brushed up on my MQA lately. Perhaps I should. Let me know in the comments what you think of MQA and if it's worth another visit. I don't care what anyone tells you, all right? I know you'll hear this from the naysayers around the internet, and I'll probably get a few hecklers in the comments below. Every CD player sounds different. I said it. I understand the assignment, ones and zeros. Now, what I will always believe in is how those ones and zeros transition into what you hear coming out of your speakers. That's where the magic happens. There's a reason companies pay their engineers to design a specific DAC and output stages. It's not to sound like the next player, it's to set themselves apart, to make sure you're getting in their vision the best representation of the material you're playing through their system. Judging by how much tech and attention to vibration and detail went into designing and manufacturing this unit, you'd have to be freaking deaf not to hear a difference between this and the next player. I connected this player directly into my custom amplifier. If you don't know about good old... Damn, I just realized I haven't named it. I will share a link to the video where my friend Galush and I built this bad boy, and if you can think of a cool name for this amp, share it down below. So I connected to the amp directly, and I also used the Weem Ultra as a preamp. Both worked fine. I didn't really notice a huge improvement between the two, so take it as an added bonus and convenience factor that it can be its own preamp. The sound was clean and clear, with what I would imagine a flat response curve sounds like, meaning there wasn't any coloration or alteration to the sound. It simply delivered the sound as it was meant to be heard. Now, don't get me wrong, this isn't a bad thing. The audio was beautiful and dynamic. It just didn't give me that overwhelming sense of, wow, there's a ton of bass, or man, the highs made my ears bleed. It was just balanced and natural, very enjoyable through and through. The original question was whether $4,000 is a smart investment for you to make on this unit. Yes, but as I mentioned before, it's not for the reason you're expecting. The reason I feel this CD player is extremely special is because of the emotion it evoked immediately after the unboxing and startup. I know, that sounds silly. I'm sure a lot of people are eye-rolling right now because I could have read off the list of features this thing has or used the impressive sound quality as a reason, which are both, in my opinion, enough to warrant the price. Call me a romantic, I don't know. I don't care. I go off feeling as much as I do listening during these evaluations, and this CD player just hit me differently. And for that reason, for the fact that this is one of the first times where I can say I wouldn't add or subtract anything from this, is why this unit gets the Flawless Victory Award. Flawless Victory. Congratulations to TEAC, and thank you for this experience. thank you guys for spending a little bit of time with me today and making it till the end. If you want to support the channel, I have a cool t-shirt shop where I sell cool t-shirts like these. You can buy me a coffee to say thanks for the video, or you'd like to be a consistent supporter, I also have a Patreon you can join where I post after filming commentary and share stuff you won't normally see on this channel. And it's just a nice way to support my efforts. A huge thanks to my current patrons. Thank you guys. If you enjoyed the video, I encourage you to envy the like button. Subscribe to the channel and ring the bell to get notified every time a new video is born. With all that said and done, I'll see you on the next one, friends. Take care. Oh, one thing I didn't cover in the video. This thing has XLR outs and RCA outs. That's another thing. I'll make sure I put a picture in the video so that way it just kind of pans through. That way you can see, hey, Mike, you kind of talk about it.